Good afternoon, everybody. I'll just get started. I want to be respectful of everyone's time. It's 2:31 on Wednesday, April 22nd. Appreciate everyone attending this panel discussion. This is, I think, the third business call we've had designed to provide information relative to the business community during the coronavirus pandemic. The Department of Economic Development here, the Chamber of Commerce, and Ormond Main Street. We've been reaching out to the business community over the last month and a half to better understand what the needs of the business community are and provide relevant content that'll be able to give them a sense of what's going on and also to hear from them what their concerns and issues are. Some of the things that we heard in our phone calls and surveys was that they're really looking to learn more about the resources that are available to employers and employees, to really understand more about the federal and state programs that are here. So the first call we did 2 weeks ago had Tom Daly with the SBDC Daytona State College and Jason Morgan with SCORE, the Flagler-Volusia chapter. And they kind of provided us an overview of the Florida Bridge Loan Program and the technical assistance that's available at SCORE to help the business community. Last week, we had a webinar that was promoted through the Chamber Alliance and the Ormond Beach Chamber, where we had the U.S. Chamber policy expert kind of walk us through the CARES Act, what was involved in that, and what some of the logistics were. And now with this third call, geared to really provide an update on employer-employee resources and updates. That was an additional thing we started to hear from a lot of employers, particularly because as they were holding on to their staff and trying to work through the disruption of the pandemic as much as they could, they started to have a lot of questions on what were the resources available and who should they turn to and what does that look like. And so for this continuity call, we really wanted to have Robin King with Career Source Flagler-Volusia on the call to kind of provide us an overview of those resources and talk about it. And then also at the same time, provide for those listening and those who will be attending and listening to it, the recorded version, to learn about some of the resources and initiatives that are going on with the city, the chamber, and Main Street. So on this call, Zoom meeting we have today, Mayor Bill Partington, Debbie Cotton, Executive Director of the Ormond Beach Chamber, Julia Trillo, Executive Director of Ormond Main Street, and Robin King, Executive Director of the Career Source Flagler-Volusia chapter. We'll be able to field questions from the participants that are joining us on the tablet, PC, the app. So if you are inclined, please put your questions in the question and answer box. We'll get to as many as we can. Also, comments or insight as we go through. If you hear something that interests you and you want to learn more, or if you have a comment on it, please feel free to also put that in there, as it'll be helpful for us. Again, a good part of this too is that it's really important for everyone listening and those listening on the recorded version that, what we hear from the business community really helps us as we talk to our elected officials at the state level and at the federal level, so they can hear the issues that businesses are having or the opportunities that businesses are moving towards or pivoting towards. And particularly in a time when we're looking to reopen the economy, it's the business community that I think can really help provide some guidance on what that might look like. One of the, as last week came to a close, unfortunately, it felt kind of flattening in the sense that, it seemed like almost all the funding that was available had been expended. The CARES Act, we learned, was fully expended. The SBA loans had been exhausted. And it was really unclear what additional financial resources might be available in the near term. There have been a lot of questions surrounding the process and wanting again to hearing some interest and feedback from the community. In preparation for this presentation, though, I wanted to try to do a little bit of research, and I did want to share with everybody something that I had found on the pandemic. Can everyone see my screen? And this came from a slideshow that the SBA had put together. And it showed at the time, as of April 17th, that there were over about 1.6 million loans that were uh, counted, with over $342 billion approved through 4,975 lenders. In that same presentation, they broke it down into by states and territories, and we see, I highlighted there Florida, that according to their data as of that April, 88,000 or roughly 89,000 loans had been approved, totaling about $17 billion, almost $18 billion in total funding. Now, in terms of where that money went or how it was allocated, of course, still remains to be known. But this was just something that came through the SBA that kind of gives us a sense of what was allocated to Florida compared to other states in the union. And since then, as of last night, we learned that there's a stimulus 3.5, and what we know about it so far is that there's about $484 billion that'll be injected into the CARES Act again. And I guess it's now in the hands of the House, where it's expected to pass later this week. But the details, as it shows here, is that there'll be an additional $310 billion in funding in the CARES Act. There are two $30 billion carve-outs for different financial institutions, and then an additional $50 billion for the SBA Disaster Loan Program, and the EIDL, or the Emergency Injury Disaster Loan Program, as well as some public health funding that'll be there. And of course, this could all be subject to change, as Congress is whimsical sometimes and has to negotiate on this stuff. But it at least is an indication that there should be additional funding coming down the pipe. And as a result of that, it could really be an opportunity for anyone who is looking to get additional funding or hadn't heard back from their lending institution to really go back and speak with your lending institution about the opportunities that they might have available currently, or how do you try to go back to the tranches for additional funding at this time, especially as this is coming down the pipe. But I thought that would be something interesting to share with everybody, so they can kind of see what we're seeing right now and what we're hearing from the legislative standpoint. So, one of the, I guess, to start things off, Mayor, as we kind of, that's going on at the federal level, and we're coming down, we look at it at a local level too. I was hoping perhaps at this time you can speak to some initiatives that the city is currently undertaking to support businesses and keep the city operational.
I'm happy to do that, Brian. And first, I want to thank you and Debbie and Julia, Robin, for all the things that you're doing, working in cooperation with the city. Each of you has your own very busy, relevant occupations now, almost as information sources for your members. And the city really appreciates that. All of us are drinking through a fire hose, it feels like, as far as the information flow. This morning, I was on a call with the White House for local leaders, while at the same time listening in to the Florida Channel's broadcast of the reopening task force, while at the same time trying to watch Fox News, and Senator Rubio was giving his take on the Paycheck Protection Program. And I know each of you out there is doing similar things, and it's just hard to take it all in and process it. But luckily we have leaders like you who are breaking it down for your members, and each of you has excellent websites. Ormond Beach has an excellent website as well, ormondbeach.org/coronavirus. You can go there and see a number of resources. Brian, I think your specific department's link is on that website as well, and you've tried to break it down as well. So the city's been working diligently throughout the pandemic for both residents and businesses to keep everyone informed on the latest news and insights coming from the health department and the governor's office. The city commission last week held our first ever virtual Zoom city commission meeting, and that we began to talk about how we're going to restart and continue to run government operations as best we can. Right now, all the essential city services are up and running. You can still meet with our staff members on a by appointment basis. And we've got another meeting coming up Tuesday night, the 28th. And I'm sure there'll be more discussion. That's at 7 p.m. You can, again, go to ormondbeach.org, agendas and minutes, and pull up the agenda and see what's going to be coming up. But and also, we want your input. You can email that into us so that we have it for the record. And we've got about a week and a day left as far as the initial 30-day period that, as a nation, we were instructed to flatten the curve, stop the spread. And so we're hoping that very soon we're going to have some recommendations coming out of the governor's office on how we start to open back up. Brian, you talked about the feedback from chamber members, Main Street members, and our residents on how best to make that open. Each of you are the boots on the ground, and you know better how we can make it work, whether it's testing, all those social distancing and sanitizing recommendations. That's the information that we want from you. And so don't hesitate to give us a text, give us a call, send us an email. And Debbie and Julia have already been wonderful about letting us know what they're hearing. And we've been able to relay that to our state and federal elected officials. One specific initiative that came out of the commission meeting was the city is allowing essential businesses to display a banner flag not to exceed 64 square feet, and there's no permit or fee required, and that'll be allowed until the local state of emergency that we approved with ordinance number 2020-15 expires. So that's a specific, we continue to advocate for the business community to the electeds at the state and federal levels. So we want to have that, again, have that feedback so that we can reach out and let them know what's going on. And then we're very closely monitoring the reopening task force. We have, from our city, Representative Tom Leake serving on that force. He is a strong voice, and we've already given him some recommendations. And certainly, if you have more, get them to us, and we'll pass them along, because it can make an impact, and we need to do as much as we can. Other than that, I just want to thank you all again for everything. It's been so critical having each of you go in the extraordinary effort of being in touch with your memberships, working through your websites, and we're very appreciative of that. If there's anything that's good that's come out of this, it's seeing the collaboration, the efforts, the communication, and everybody working together to defeat this invisible enemy that none of us ever really thought we would have to be dealing with. So thank you for the opportunity, Brian, and let me know if I can help with any other answers or questions.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. That's a great summary and good information to know. I mean, one question, do you, I guess, what are there any solutions or ideas that are being discussed among other city leaders, like within the Florida League of Cities, in terms of best practices or approaches to moving forward and working with businesses as we, I guess, deal during the pandemic, but then also now as we're looking towards some type of a reopening of the economy?
I think, the Volusia League of Cities is meeting once a week. It's all the mayors in Volusia County, and we're just now beginning to address how the reopening will look. We're soliciting feedback from anybody really who has a good idea, but the the keystone of it looks like it's going to require testing, quite a bit of testing, just so we have a good idea where we're at with the virus. And then the other part of it is kind of using the CDC guidelines as a benchmark and really strictly complying with those as we move forward. For restaurants example, if it's going to be a 30% or 40% capacity when they go back to being open, making sure that along with that, they are complying, whether it's a face masks or gloves or sanitation of the facilities every half hour and their hands more frequently, doing all those things that are going to make people comfortable coming back out and reopening the economy. So nobody's sure exactly what it's going to look like, but we're discussing it and working towards that.
Oh, there we go. Great. Yeah, that's important. I think that's, part of the conversations that we're hearing as well is what does it look like and how do they participate? And in the meantime, I know coming back to the discussion about, the available funding and businesses trying to either look at ways of reshaping and pivoting how they're doing business and or trying to just keep operations as normal while adapting a little bit to this scenario. There have been questions coming up again related to employer assistance and employee assistance. And so to that end, Robin, wanted to kind of touch on some of the programs that are available. I know a lot of times we always kind of look at what kind of financial assistance is available, rightfully so, because we need to work on the lost profits and the decline in revenue. And that's what keeps businesses going. But at the same time, we have the very sensitive issue of employees and the employer, and how do you handle that amidst this, and knowing that there are other resources available that are non-financial, but that might help with dealing through those situations as well. So I was wondering if you could, during this time, to review the programs available to employers. I know right off the bat, the one I think of for employers specifically is the ShortTerm Compensation Program. So I'm hoping you might be able to give us a little overview of that.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Brian. And thank you, Mayor. Getting relevant information out in a timely manner is critical for all of us. It's our main focus these days. So first, before I get into the short-term compensation, just to remind businesses who are in the position to hire that we still help with that. Right now, we've just gotten a report. There's about 12,000 people who do not have a job in Volusia County right now. And some of those are temporary layoffs, and that hopefully they will continue to be temporary layoffs. But there are some businesses who are in the position of hiring. And so we have our programs that help offset the cost for businesses around recruiting and hiring and retaining their workforce. If a business is looking at that they really want to retain their task force, their workforce, the short-time compensation program is a program that's offered by the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. It's where their employees would reduce their hours by at least 10%, no more than 40%. They would then qualify for the reemployment assistance, which is what Florida calls unemployment assistance. In addition, they would also qualify for the additional $600 a week through the CARES Act. And so that would be a way that they could get revenue for their employees while retaining them, so that when they are in a position to come back, they haven't lost all that talent. Because that's such an expense for businesses to train new hires. So this way they would get to keep them. So the important part to know is there is a website, go to floridajobs.org, and it's listed out there. But the plan must be approved prior to reducing the hours. Now, if a business is faced at both laying off and wants to do this, it can be a hybrid. They don't have to necessarily keep all of them like they did with the PPP, right? That this is something that can be customized based upon what that business's plan is. So there's a phone number, an employer hotline number for them to call, so that they can get in. And if anyone is having difficulty getting in that way, there is an email address that I wish I would have sent you, Brian, earlier. I can get to you and you can post it later on your information. It's stc@deo.myflorida, but I'll get it to you and then you can post that. And then in the event, if a business really is having to lay off, whether they're temporary or permanent layoffs, we can come in at this time virtually and explain to their employees what their next steps are, how they apply for reemployment assistance. If they're permanent layoffs, letting them know what kind of services we have available, because a permanent layoff is what we call a dislocated worker, and they're eligible immediately for a lot of services, including if they want to go back to school. We pay the tuition and the wraparound costs for that. And we're working very closely with Daytona State and other schools on what that looks like, because they're not going to have physical classes, but they're even figuring out how to do like labs, socially, physically distanced, that kind of thing. And so that's the primary thing around the short-time compensation, and the rapid response is when we come in and just help walk those employees into, if it's a large layoff, we've done this with the layoff, the business that closed not too long ago. 8 phases. We've been going in virtually, and again, just helping them in that transition so that they know what's available to them and how to navigate that.
And if I understand it, it's an opportunity to do a skills assessment or work with those employees and then identify additional or other employment opportunities that exist and that are available through Employ Florida.
So one of the best examples I have is I had a young man from outside the county. Actually, I'm not sure how he got my name and number, but he's been a sous chef for a restaurant in Orlando and wasn't really trained to do that. And that's not an occupation that has a really bright future anytime soon. And so having a conversation that, do you want to just go get another job, or do you want to take this time to find your career, right? And so it's helping them with an assessment, determining what they would be good at based on what their likes and dislikes are and what they're good at, kind of things. And then lining them up with labor market information. These are the jobs that we have in demand in our area. This is what those jobs pay. And then helping them navigate which schools offered the training that they need. So that's our day-to-day job. That's what we do in helping someone take the blinders off. Someone who has always done one thing, but they don't realize that they'd be good at other things, taking the skill set that they could transfer to another occupation and helping them navigate that. Definitely.
And what can you speak to, I guess, looking at, this economy as well, definitely pertains to a gig economy. What are the resources, or how is it dealt with in terms of independent contractors, those with 1099 sole proprietors? What resources are available for them?
So what will become available, it's not available yet today, is again that CARES Act. So anyone who would not be traditionally eligible for the reemployment assistance, the RA program, would still go through that same process. The state of Florida is still creating a supplemental application that they would fill out. And so then they would get the additional $600 a week for at least 13 weeks. And as soon as that becomes available, we will definitely be pushing that out. We've been using social media a lot for job postings, instead of our traditional means of using our database for job openings and that kind of thing, just pushing it out there and letting others share it. I'm sure you've seen the website that Volusia County has come up with, really a lot of information on there. Same thing as just how we can make this easy for those who've just lost their jobs, as well as for the businesses who are either hiring or looking at laying off. Right.
And I know actually I'll just pop this up here because this was one of the slides that I had here for, so the website, careersourceflorida.com. Is this the website you're referring to?
So that's CareerSource Florida's. I'm sure if you click on the reemployment assistance piece of that, a short-time compensation. So both of those are going to take you to floridajobs.org.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So again, CareerSource Florida is like us. We are not the reemployment office. The state of Florida doesn't have those, but we're in a supportive role, making sure that we're getting out the relevant information as quickly as we can. For example, we've had, and I believe we still have paper applications outside of our centers that with self-addressed stamped envelopes. But what right now we are recommending to anyone who is applying for reemployment assistance to go on the website. Everyone's heard about the website. And so now when someone's applying, it's not taking you into that database. It's a layover that is then migrated into the database system. That's why the Connect system is down every evening now as they're migrating that information over. But it's the quickest way that we can get people into the system, get their foot in the door.
All right, that's fantastic. Yeah, good to know that there is that. And I think that especially with the short-term compensation program, it kind of helps provide some guidance to employees that are trying to understand how best to handle their employees at this current time, especially as they're looking for ways, because they want to retain the team. They want to maintain their employers because they're loyal and they're good. And, you don't want to get rid of, great employees when you don't have to. That perhaps that program is able to help support that effort and then also allow them to, take advantage of all of the trainings and the programs that are available through your team there.
And the short-time compensation program is not in response to the health crisis. That is a program that is available anytime for any business who finds that they're facing a downturn and they just don't want to lose their employees. And so that's just something to be cognizant of, is that's something that the state has for our businesses year round.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, and I know, kind of shifting, if we move over to you, Debbie, with the chamber, and as we talk about the business community, what are you seeing as the needs for the chamber, or what are you hearing from chamber members at this time?
Well, our goal since all this has happened is really to kind of reach out to our members one at a time. We have over almost 700 members in the community, and that's Ormond Beach and the surrounding area, of course. What we're hearing, of course, is the same thing I think we've already talked about. The businesses are closed down. They're doing the right thing they're supposed to do. It's the lack of funding coming through the paycheck program, which we know, everybody knows what happened to that. I think a lot of their biggest frustration right now is they have submitted for those programs or loans or grants, and they're just not hearing back. It's like they've submitted all the documents their lender has asked them to submit, and they're just kind of in limbo. And as everybody knows, the waiting part is the hardest thing, especially when that could be your lifeline to continuing business. So, we're just trying to kind of listen to everybody and see what their needs are. Everybody has different needs. Of course, liquidity is the biggest thing, but, we dealt with a member yesterday that needed some face mask, and through our relationships with community partners, we were able to find one of our Ormond Beach businesses to donate her some face masks so she could get ready to open business. So those are things that we're trying to do, listen to what their exact need is. And if we can make a match, kind of like matchmaking, just find somebody to help fill that immediate need, it certainly helps. And it goes a long way from a trust factor in knowing that we're really trying to help them out the best we can. We have limited resources. We can't help we can't help their lenders process their applications quicker, but we can certainly help with other things too. Right. So, and that's the main thing for us. And to keep, we have a COVID resource page as well, as everybody here does, and we're linking to everybody's pages. So, we're just trying to refer people to that as much as possible. I think the next thing was with Robin, and this is why I feel that this is important and timely, because people are to that point where they need to figure out the next steps, either when reopening or just to kind of get them through till we can reopen. So Robin's information is timely, I think. Yeah,
and this is the Ormond Chambers website here. I got screenshots for all of you. And can you tell us a little bit about OB Open for Business campaign that you guys started?
Yeah, we did start that. So we're all about best practices through our chamber colleagues from around the country. I have a very good relationship with a lot of them. And, you know, it was something that somebody did out west. So we kind of took a little bit of the idea and put our own spin to it. But OB Open for Business is just ways that you can support your local community and your local businesses in different ways, whether it's shop online to a local business, buy a gift card and donate it, donate it to the guys that are out there, picking up our trash every day, donate it to one of your teachers, something, or use it a later time. So there are different ways you can do that. Keep your subscriptions to your gym that's currently not open right now. Keep your subscription, keep your membership to your local chamber of commerce, so things like that we're kind of promoting to donate to charities and nonprofits that need that.
Yeah.
So that's really kind of the OB Open for Business, is to promote a different way now to support each other.
That's fantastic. And then, I mean, are there, in terms of the Florida, I know the Florida Chamber and the U.S. Chamber have been doing a good job of providing resources as well. And that's something that anybody can tap into at this point in terms of their webinars and e-learning segments.
They have, most of them are providing different types of learning opportunities. I know the Florida Chamber has some things with OSHA that they're offering. They just announced that. Yeah, I guess it's something they've been doing, but they announced it yesterday during our call. So we'll be putting links to that on our website very soon. But they have and the link is on our website as well. They have a COVID section. So I know the Florida Chamber is constantly updating that. Mark Wilson, the president there, is very involved in the governor's task force to reopen Florida. So he takes a lot of that information that he gathers from Florida Chambers of Commerce and what we're hearing from our businesses around the state, and applying those to just data that they can kind of decide which direction and how we want to hopefully cautiously open up Florida.
Yeah, that's great. And then I think too, kind of the advocacy component too.
Yep.
I know that with their states, their economists, they do a great job of providing an overview of kind of where we are, the state of the economy,
Right.
And what have you.
And they keep us linked to, to our representatives up in Washington too, when we're trying to advocate for, getting the funding back, back into the CARES Act for the PPP. Chambers across the nation signed a letter to all our representatives to kind of help move that forward. Right. So we try and work very closely with their advocacy people as well.
Yeah, now more than ever.
Yes,
working together to make our voices heard.
For sure.
Well, thanks, Debbie. I did want to circle back because I know, Robin, we actually did receive a couple of questions, and I wanted to get them to you as they're kind of hot off the press. In terms of the programs that you described in the short-term compensation program, does that apply for nonprofits as well?
I'm not aware that there's any restriction that it's for-profit versus not-for-profit. So yes,
great.
Nonprofits should be able to get.
Nonprofits can go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Is the program you were describing, that's in addition to the current SBA loan program, or one and the same?
It's separate.
Okay. Right. It's been there regardless of pandemic.
Right. It's there year round. In fact, I just brought this up so to see the one thing that we've asked. There is a change in the tax rate, employment tax rate for businesses that participate in this, but again, it's customized by each business that puts a plan together, and so I would encourage them to take a look at it.
Okay. Now, is the training provided through the Workforce Act, WIA, or is it strictly through CARES? So
the training that we get is not. It's actually now called the Opportunity Act. The Workforce Investment Opportunity Act is a dislocated worker. And again, it's a program we have year round. That's not just in response to this. We have applied for additional dollars for the emergency, thinking that there's going to be quite a wave of people that are coming in, but it's that's not related to the CARES Act. No, we did not get any money from CARES.
Okay. And then another one came in just so they're clear. Example, the weekly unemployment pay is $275 per week. An individual makes $50,000 a year and their salary is reduced by 25%. Can they apply for the benefit you're describing?
The $600 will come automatically. They don't have to do anything additional. So it's a 275 and then the 600 is on top, and that'll just be taken care of in the state system.
Got you. One thing that attendee was looking for is as an employee to ensure they have done all they can for their, I guess as an employer, to ensure they've done all they can for their employees to receive unemployment benefits. They filed over a month ago and neither have received any information. Her case has been pending, received process, I suppose. Is there more that they can do or should be doing in terms of that follow-up?
Just find patients wherever you can. One way or the other, they'll receive a letter that says either they're eligible or not. And so, like I said, Career Source Florida at the state level and those of us at the local level, we can be in a supportive role in a lot of different things. We can help with PIN resets and answer basic questions and help people navigate. When it comes to actually determining the eligibility, that can only be done by one department. And I know that they have worked 24/7 for the last month, and it's still not enough. I mean, I think the last I saw, 6.4% of the claims received have actually been processed and paid. So it's just, they put out a wide net with paper applications and the fillable online applications, plus the Connect. And so they've gathered a lot of information. Now it needs to go through this bottleneck, if you will. So they're getting it out as quickly as they can.
Right, absolutely. Then and I think in terms of the patients, I'm going to double check. We should probably have the governor add that to the list of essential services and find out where we can buy some. This one question was, can we get the website and email address again? So they have floridajobs.org and stc.deo.myflorida.org for the short-term compensation program.
So the phone number the employer hotline is 1-877-846-8770. And the email address is STC for short time compensation at deo.myflorida.com.
Great. And then your contact information, is there a good way to reach you via email?
My email address is my first and last name, Robin King, at careersourcefv, as in Flagler-Volusia.com. Great.
Thank you. And then this was like a multi-part question. Are you able to assist, if employees have already been laid off? It sounds like this is a restaurant and then they're 5 weeks into this and all restaurants have already laid off their employees. So is there a way to assist in a situation like that?
Certainly. I mean, they can still get in and apply and they're still eligible for the services. The thing is the sooner they can get into the system, the better, because that's when services start, and so they're not going to be able to backdate and say, well, I got laid off 5 weeks ago and have it retroactive. It's effective when you apply.
Gotcha. Okay, thanks. Those are the questions. I wanted to make sure we got to those, particularly since they were relevant to the components that you talked about. We're going to shift gears back to Ormond Main Street, Julia, and kind of the same question of, what are you seeing as the needs for Ormond Main Street, and what are you hearing from the Main Street members during this time?
Well, we've been really proud of our small businesses. I mean, Ormond Main Street is the strip of Granada from the ocean to Orchard, and there are almost 200 businesses there, and I would say 80% of them have fewer than 5 employees. So they're at the very, and our restaurants have more, and the restaurants are coping, and our essential services are coping, but they've shown remarkable resilience and remarkable creativity, I guess. They're finding ways to work with each other, to share some of the things that they know. One of the things that really has given me great heart is that I watch them support each other on social media. So, and they'll post other people's stuff. It's like, oh, look, somebody has hamburgers for lunch. They don't need to do that. They're just doing it to be supportive of one another. And I think that that gives us really, as a community, it gives us an advantage, because when we come back, they will have made those connections to one another, and they will be keeping that working. I think in terms of employment and in getting ready for reopening, most of the folks in historic Ormond Beach are concerned about timing, not just when will we open, but will we have enough lead time to be prepared? You know, if the task force determines that every employee has to wear a mask and gloves, as Debbie says, where will we get them? That's not something we normally do in our florist shop. Will they have time to call back their employees and get a schedule together? So I think timing is going to be a big issue for all businesses, but certainly for the small businesses here in Ormond Main Street's territory. We've been trying as an organization not only to keep everybody updated on what the changes are, and that has been fast and furious, but also trying to do and we'll be building on this now, but public campaigns to help people remember that as comfy as it is to sit home by the TV and open up Amazon and start ordering stuff, that it's important to continue to prioritize local business, because those gift card sales, those takeout meals, those, if you can get on the phone and talk to a local interior designer and plan what you're going to do for your redecoration project in a couple of weeks, that's money that's staying right here, as opposed to going on Wayfair and buying a sofa. Nothing against those services, but we need to be thinking locally ever so strongly. And so, and I think people are tuned to that. People want to do that. We are rolling out a campaign tomorrow on our Facebook called The Faces of Ormond Beach. And it's just a series of photos of our business owners in front of their business or in front of their logo or in their shop, just to remind you that there are people involved here, that it's not just about loans and disease and everything else that we spend so much time thinking. These are people, the people with kids that their kids, or their parents, or you play tennis next to them, and they're people that you care about. We're also going to be rolling out, not this Saturday, but the following Saturday, a virtual Shop Small Saturday, which will be timed for folks to be getting their gifts and thoughts together for Mother's Day and graduation. Even though the ceremonies may be in July, I think a lot of our graduates will be expecting a little something on the day. Don't make mom cook. Don't make her go to the grocery store. Order out for Mother's Day if you can't go to your favorite restaurant. And we're in transition. I think a lot of the public sentiment things we've seen indicate that while folks are anxious to get out and do, they are nervous about where they're going to go. There was a Harris poll that's being done every 3 days. I think they're doing it on consumer sentiment. Only 15% said they would be willing to go to a restaurant immediately. So I think that it's going to be a gradual coming out project, and we're going to have to work on helping the folks who have found ways to do e-commerce or to be present online, to keep that going while they reopen their shops. So
Right.
that's our task right now.
And I have here, so on your resource page here, you're able to show, you kind of talk about the Faces of Ormond Beach, as you had mentioned, and then there's also an opportunity for any business that's within the historic district can enter their information, and so people can know what their operations currently are, and if they offer any services that residents can take advantage of, they'll be able to learn about it there and take advantage of it.
Yes, people really want to know what you're up to. They want to know if they can call you. They want to know if you have delivery or you have a way to get your products to them. So that's an important thing for you to let us know so we can share that information. We're talking to about 10,000 people on our Facebook page every day. So it's a lot of voices. And we're also spending time and energy, and thanks to our local publishers and radio stations, we've got a lot of airtime and print and digital advertising, reminding folks that our stores are open and that we are here, that restaurants are ready to help you eat, and that our food, we have food shops that are open. So it's a good time to be thinking about how you're getting your message out there to your buyers. Even if you're closed, it's an especially good time to be thinking about that.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah. And I've heard the ads, and they're fantastic to hear. And I think it's a great way of reminding people tuning into the radio of those businesses. So I really applaud those efforts. I think that's a great way of keeping everybody knowing what's available and what the options are. And I think, coming back to the first call that we had, a lot of it was, kind of focused on everyone with our resource pages. And again, I'll share the PowerPoint here, because we, along with resource pages, we've got, the cities, we have a business recovery resources page as well, which you can find at ormondbeach.org. And also the Volusia County Division of Economic Development has a COVID-19 center at volusiabusinessresources.com. And I think that's a really interesting website, because it kind of bundles together all of the resources that are available within Volusia County, and also does outline, much like many of the other ones, the resources available at the federal and the state level, and other ways too of how businesses can get involved, whether it's through if you're in the manufacturing world, the Manufacturing Extension Partners Connects program, how to potentially do business with the county or the state in terms of having a product or a service that is important or essential during this time, and then also just doing business in general with the state and the county is always key. And kind of have this last slide here, because I always come back to my mantra of economic development, which is link and leverage local resources. And we had, like I mentioned on our first call, the SBDC Daytona State College and Volusia Flagler SCORE chapter, and also the Florida Virtual Entrepreneur Center, which is a partner someone we partner with as well, that provides resources to entrepreneurs. And these are resources for technical assistance and guidance for businesses to maybe tune into them and ask and look at various aspects of your business model that either need to be fine-tuned or ways that can be leveraged to change or adapt to the times that we're seeing and to the times that we will be seeing in the near future. And I think if anything, now is the time that it's great to be working with all of the organizations here on this call and throughout the entire county and state as a way to lean on each other and work with each other to find solutions and to look at and work together towards what's going to be coming ahead. So I just kind of wanted to offer those. I mean, I guess I'd have a very busy slide if I shared all of the resources that were available. and that we have here, because I know, much like Debbie, you were speaking of getting the masks for that company, working with the Volusia Manufacturing Association. They've been doing a great job of working with the manufacturers on whatever their needs are, but also those that are providing services that can help other types of businesses, like in the medical profession or the retail, restaurant, etc. So just knowing that, as much as we hear it all the time, we are all in this together, and so we can work together towards finding our way through it and getting through it. So with that, that's kind of coming to the end of the call. I appreciate everyone's time. I don't see any more questions, or let's see here. There was one question here. Is there any hope the governor will allow some backdating of unemployment checks, considering the delays in the processing of the applications?
It's a question we ask weekly. We have a call with DEO every Friday afternoon, and it's the same with the claiming of weeks that, you have to go in every 2 weeks. Well, that started the middle of April. Can that be retroactive? So some of it's the system itself that they're working on a lot of manual workarounds. And so today the answer is that's not something really that the governor can just wave a wand and it will happen. It's something that needs to be looked at within the system and how that can work. So,
right.
But there are a number of us who are speaking on behalf of our communities, saying that they need this and they need it now, and they need flexibility. And so we're advocates who are here for the long haul.
Okay, great. Thanks. And there was one, I think it's more of a comment than a question. They like that incentive to think about your next gift giving occasion. So
My birthday's coming up now.
Oh, there you go. All right. Well, we have her email. So. Well, again, I don't know if anyone else on there has any last comments. Debbie, Mayor, Julia. Oh, yes, sir.
Brian, I just want to thank you again for putting this together. Your efforts to stay engaged with the business community have been fantastic. Jen Elston, our public information officer, has also been doing a great job, and both you guys, under the supervision of our city manager, Joyce Shanahan, have really stepped up during this awkward, difficult time to make sure that our citizens and our residents and business owners have as much information as possible. FloridaChannel.org has an app that you can download, or you can just go to FloridaChannel.org and watch the governor's reopening committee or listen to the governor's reopening committee. They're meeting twice a day, 10 a.m. I think, and then 2 p.m. And they're kind of on a time crunch because their recommendations are due to the governor Friday, I believe, in the afternoon. Hopefully the governor will then take them over the weekend, talk with whoever he's going to talk with, and come out with some firm recommendations on Monday for a reopening. So if you can listen in on some of those conversations, it might spark you to have some good suggestions or feedback for us. If you'll get them to us, and we'll be happy to pass those along. Robin, you're always popular, but you're like the most popular person in the room during this time. So we appreciate you. Debbie, I know the chamber has a virtual social hour tomorrow night, I think I saw.
Yep.
That's fantastic. I mean, everybody's doing so many different things and adapting and really pulling together to make it happen. Julia, you guys have taken so much information and condensed it down into sizable links that people can get the good information from on your website. So just want to thank everybody. We have a resilient, vibrant community. And like Brian said earlier, there is no doubt that we're all in this together, and we will get through this together. And I'll leave on that note. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And for those still online, when you have a chance to see the video, just send it along to those that were unable to attend, and we'll be in touch with additional calls that'll be happening in the weeks to come. Thanks very much, everybody.